Transitioning from our current society into a contributionism or an Ubuntu community where people live together, work together cooperatively and collaboratively to create abundance for themselves. That's not an easy transition because everything in our lives and in our world is controlled by money. And it is it is the biggest tool of enslavement. So to free ourselves from the enslavement of money and move into a new social structure is probably the most difficult ask and the most difficult process we have to undergo. It doesn't mean it's impossible. It means that we have to start that path. We have to get onto that path and walk it with an understanding that we're leaving behind that which has oppressed us and enslaved us for thousands of years, and we're moving into a direction where we free ourselves from the economic hardships and economic slavery, from the global elite and their magic money system that they imposed on us, and create a new social structure that works without the money. So the transition process is the most difficult part, really. But at the same time, what I've been sharing with people, once we understand the process, it becomes very, very simple. So initially we think it's really hard and difficult, but once people grasp the simplicity of it, that it's so easy and so simple to move from this to the other, that's when they start getting excited and they wake up and they go, wow, this is something we can do. I can see it. They can start imagining it. They can start manifesting this reality for themselves. And the reason I say it's so simple, because all it requires is us to take control of our towns and communities. That we can do on a political front, to win the control of this philosophy in our towns, and we start doing things for ourselves, no longer do it for corporations or for the government. Start whatever we do for ourselves in the community is for the benefit of the people of the community. And we do that with our free source of electricity. And we use the electricity source that everybody gets for free as a tool of unification. And the model that we propose with the Ubuntu movement is that everybody contributes 3 hours per week towards one of the community projects that we put in place with our collaborative efforts. And in return for the 3 hours a week, everybody gets the free electricity and everything that we create in our community projects for free. What have they just done? They've just created a community, a very powerful labor force, a community that creates abundance by working together for 3 hours a week. I mean, that's insane. And yet when you start doing the numbers, 1 year of a community doing 3 hours a week collaborative work is equivalent to 31 years of that same community doing it in a capitalistic structure. This is brand new information that by the looks of it, a statistician in Byron Bay threw out at us last weekend in Byron Bay when he sat down and he said, wow, I've just done the numbers over and over again. I had to keep checking myself to make sure this was accurate. And he said 1 week of your community of say 5,000 people giving 3 hours a week is equivalent to 31 years in a capitalist model. And I mean, that just blows your mind, you know. You realize how powerful we are. What happens when we start doing this is we start behaving like the natural laws and the laws of nature around us, where one apple tree doesn't just create one more apple tree. One apple tree creates 1,000 apple trees. And that's what we're just doing. By working together as one community, we create so much abundance for many other communities. The beautiful thing about this transitional phase is that you don't have to give up your job. You don't have to give up anything. You can carry on having your job in the bank, or being an estate agent, or an upholsterer, or a shoe salesman, or a coffee maker, or whatever. You can hold on to your job and then 3 hours a week do your 3 hours for your community. That then creates the abundance because you got 5,000 other people doing the same. You just think about that. That's 15,000 hours of labor a week that we have to find something for the people to do. So that's a lot of community projects you have to set up. Otherwise, there'll be nothing to do for the people. And it's at that moment that you realize, oh my God, we are sitting with an incredible, powerful labor force that creates unimaginable abundance for us while we're wearing our capitalist hat that is based on competition. The moment we replace competition with cooperation and collaboration, we start creating this abundance. So the good news is that what we started off saying. The transition from here into this united community of abundance is actually a lot simpler than we can imagine. 3 hours a week, you don't have to give up your job, and very soon, within the first year or two, you're going to not only want to give up your job, you won't even think about your job anymore, because everything you need will be provided for from the community projects in the community that you choose to live in, not forced to live in. What I find is, look, to just blurt out, oh, we're going to get rid of money and we're going to do this, like most people aren't ready for that. They're not ready for hearing about the history. They're not ready about talking about the Anunnaki or the Sumerian texts and all that. It's just it's too scary for most people. What affects us today, and all of us equally, is the money issue. How the money is controlled and used as a tool of manipulation and tool of enslavement across the whole planet on every single one of us. So no matter whether you're the wealthiest guy in the world or the poorest guy in the world, money affects you and controls your life because of how it affects our governments and the laws and the rules that they create for us, that they then impose on us, all driven by money. So what I find is an easy way to get people involved in the discussion and involved in the debate without scaring them away or making them think that you've gone crazy. Because a lot of people, as you know, are not prepared to even discuss this. Start about the banking. Start the story about, did you know that banks make money out of thin air? And then when people say, well, how does it, what do you mean they make money out of thin air? They've got collateral and all that. No, they don't have any collateral. They have your land as collateral or your car as collateral. That's not having anything. It's stuff that you actually acquired, getting their fictitious loans of money that they created out of thin air, so that you can get what you want to get, and then they take it as collateral. So it means they own it already, in any case. So that means the banks own our lives, they own everything we have, they control our governments, and start bringing people into this through the discussion about who banks are, what they are. They're private companies. The single-minded objective of a private company is to make profit. So the banks are not there as our friends to look after us and provide us with a means to a better life. Private banks, which are pretty much all the banks in the world today, their main objective is to enslave us to their debt money as deeply as they can, so that we remain their slaves for our entire lives. Get people into that discussion and then take it to another level to say, are you aware of the fact that the central bank, the Reserve Bank of Australia, or the Federal Reserve Bank, or the Reserve Bank of South Africa, are private companies? The Bank of England, these are all private companies owned by secret, mysterious owners that operate from the City of London and Basel, Switzerland, from the Bank for International Settlements. We will never know who the real owners are, because that's not published, that's not shared with anyone. What we read in the media and what we see on their so-called, on their statements that they put out, those are just smoke and mirror bits of information. And the private central banks control our governments. They have the absolute control over creating the wealth and the money for the country that they then loan to our governments, and then the governments use that privately created money to enslave the people. So once people go through that shock, and often many people are not ready to even accept it. When you tell people, oh, the Reserve Bank of Australia is a private company, they'll go, oh, rubbish. Yeah, they immediately deny it. They don't even know anything about it, but they deny it. And then when they go away and they realize that you are telling them the truth, that's a big aha moment of awakening. And then they go away and do their own research. And then they come back to you and say, you know what? It's amazing. I didn't know what you were telling me is so. And then they want to discuss it more with you. Then they say, so what happens with this? And so tell me about that. And then suddenly they realize that inflation is not necessary. Taxes and levies and fees are not necessary. No VAT or anything is not necessary, because if we issue our own money by the people for the people, it's our money. We're creating it. We don't have to charge tax or VAT or create money that you have to pay back to the bank. The money should be issued to us in our communities to create community projects and public works that then feed those that are masters of their trade, to be able to give expression to their abilities and talents and gifts in all these many projects, from art studios to engineering works to rocket science, whatever it is. And so the money thing is the way to hook people into this. And it's a big discussion, but it's an icebreaker for those that are still in the box.